The level of his knowledge is so deep. There's all these different things that go into making these pieces.
There was nothing in the art world that was ready for Paul's paintings.
I mean, this man is the soul of brevity. He's able to take a large canvas, but put a whole universe on it.
If civilization had to be reconstructed after an apocalyptic event, this is the work that you'd want.
It must take a lot of intense time and study, and I would think that that would be reflective, and that would be something that you would need to do alone.
And as he has said, I could write a book about this, but to him, it really makes more sense to do this as a painting.
So let me introduce you to Paul Laffoley. Paul, you want to?
I'll be a little late now because there were three paintings remaining from yesterday's 40 that I didn't get to. And so I'll start right in. A portal is a door. Next slide, please. Right. It's something that opens you into another world. Okay, here is a more detailed version.
My name is Paul Laffoley, and welcome to my Odyssey. I'm a painter, and I paint paintings that work from my mind, from visions.
These things are not dashed off. They are studied. They are blueprints for futuristic things and fantastical buildings, and just concepts for building the future.
What I was trying to do is induce a soliton wave, and it works by barometric variation. You're gaining energy out of a system where it's simply by the device itself. Next slide, please. I mean, if I was out here a half an hour, I'd get sunstroke.
Paul's upbringing certainly was an unusual one. His father is very open-minded. He's a member of the Spiritualist Church in Boston, doesn't believe in gravity.
My own personal history, is involved in this. Like my father was a medium. My grandfather was an architect. I've been kicked out of Harvard Graduate School of Design for conceptual deviance.
He was dismissed essentially from Harvard. This is a mind that's so engaged with ideas and invention of forms. I think architecture in 3 dimensions in the physical world couldn't begin to contain this imagination.
I had actually worked on the World Trade Center. I suggested that there be these bridges, these 17 bridges. I mean, if it was a fire, you could move over to the next one and go down, and it would save a lot of lives. So they gave it to the old man, and he said, fire the guy that said that. I'm slightly autistic. The time when the movie Rain Man came out, my girlfriend says, there's your movie. Like, I don't like to move. I used to know people that would move within two-year period, they moved 20 times. And they liked me because I didn't.
He keeps trying to find an explanation for why he's so unusual.
Let's see. You know about the thing about my implant in my head. And so my teeth started falling out. So I went over to the Beth Israel dental clinic and talked to the guy, and he said, well, you gotta have a CAT scan of your head. So I said, okay. The clinician was working along, and then he started asking me funny questions, like, have you ever been shot? And I said, what the hell? And he said, well, there's something in your head. It's about 3/8 of an inch long and rounded at both ends and 1/16 of an inch in diameter. Are you describing a bullet? And he said, I think we got an implant here. I think maybe what we have here is a nanotechnological biolaboratory. And so what I think that they do is like implant ideas into a person and see whether there's some kind of reaction. It's like Leonardo. He was like 500 years ahead in terms of the worldview. He did stuff that was useless in his time period. And so that's where I think a lot of the ideas that I've had come from, because they come just like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if you showed people who have a lot of the technical background that might be required to sort of appreciate it. They might feel like, what is this guy crazy? Because he also mixes it with things that we, those of us who think of ourselves as scientists maybe no longer believe in or think that's something that we should have left behind.
I've said to Paul, you don't need a chip implanted in your brain to have all the ideas you have, because you've read a lifetime's work and more in all of your research and reading in this remarkable investigation that he's carried on all this time.
You could literally create a single ring around the Earth, and it would stay stable. You've got a hardware store floating up there, and they're going to drop crystalline graphite wire, which is made out of an icosahedral pentagonal dodecahedron. It has like 64 nodes in the molecule, so it's the strongest material in tension. At the same time, I was thinking of a physically alive architecture. You would be able to give people a bag of seeds. You want this thing to go up in 3 months the way a normal house in the suburb goes up. It's also a way in which we could move off the Earth. See, now we're going to go to Mars, and people say we're going to live there. Now, are we going to live in tin cans? With little things, you have tubes going from one tin can to the next? I don't think so. We're going to have to bioform that planet. My overall plan is to have the entire Earth covered with a single vegetable. Okay, next slide, please. Right. Okay.
An operating system in the Laffoley vernacular is a painting which is active. When you are looking at a Laffoley, it is not necessarily concerned about you. It's telling you what its message is.
So thank you very much. That's the last slide.
After he's gone, these paintings are going to be looked at. People are going to try to decipher them. What was he thinking? What's he trying to do here? People are going to look at his paintings in the same way 500 years from now, when these ideas that seem so fanciful now are practical.
If you can sphere in the Earth, you can do that to the moon. You can create a connection between them, a physical link. Like a spherical waterfall, which could be turned into electricity.
And I guess when I look at his work, I feel like this is a man who's looking for truth.
Which will then solve problems on Earth that appear to be insolvable.
Paul is a senior citizen, and that there is an entire closet full of very finely developed work for the world to discover.
Yeah.
This doesn't happen. Someone doesn't get to be Paul's age without being discovered. It doesn't happen.
So what you can see with Paul's art is that it's taken the entire history of civilization in the West to produce the objects that he creates.
The Vedic text talked about levels of realities. And in other words, the levels of reality are really a description of dimensionality. Here's where what we call revelation lies. The power supply will be a star that has been crushed and pulled together into a Klein bottle form. We still have a distinction between the natural and the supernatural. I mean, there are things that we can't experience. We have a capacity for denying our own spirituality. This is the Orgone motive. which is of controlling and amplifying psychokinesis, the ability to move what we would call matter with our minds.